A reading from Come Away and Rest, A Guide to Personal Spiritual Retreats by Allison Pryor. Rabbi Abraham Heschel writes, "The result of our thinginess is our blindness to all reality that fails to identify itself as a thing, as a matter of fact. This is obvious in our understanding of time, which, being thingless and insubstantial, appears to us as if it had no reality. Indeed, we know what to do with space, but do not know what to do about time except make it subservient to space. Most of us seem to labor for the sake of things of space. As a result, we suffer from a deeply rooted dread of time and stand aghast when compelled to look into its face." Allison writes, "In our society, opening questions to each other begin, 'And what do you do?' We have communally agreed that work is superior to rest because in work, we communicate our value and importance to ourselves and each other. We measure our lives by what we export into the world, not by what we receive into our souls, as though we could separate the two. Retreating slammed me into the reality of how anchored I was in the thinginess of my life. It revealed how I saw myself primarily as one who gets things done, one who teaches, plans, executes, and produces. In aiming to leave thinginess behind and enter into the realm of sacred time, I found myself on God's turf. I had no trinkets to distract me, no claim on how vital my role was in my own life, just the furious beauty of being face to face with God. Of the many things we might claim that keep us from time away with God, this, I'm convinced, is at the top of the pile. We fear in the depths of our being that if we fully surrender ourselves to sacred time, God won't show up. And then, realizing we are utterly alone in the universe, we will slowly dissolve into insanity, like Tom Hanks' character in that movie where he gets trapped on a deserted island and becomes best friends with a deflated volleyball. This seemed like a valid possibility only 10 minutes into my retreat as I sat on the stiff twin bed. Heartlifters, today we have a luminous, beautiful friend named Allison with us, Allison Pryor. She is a trained marriage and family therapist and a certified spiritual director. She holds degrees in psychology from both the University of Southern California and Fuller Theological Seminary, as well as an MA in Spiritual Formation and Soul Care from Talbot Seminary. She currently serves as a staff spiritual director and adjunct faculty member at Biola University. She and her family live in Southern California. I think this is such an appropriate conversation for today. I had to travel to the University of Virginia Medical Center where my esophageal surgeon is, and I get all of my testing done there. And I made a trip up, takes about 2.5 hours, and a trip back. And on the way up and on the way back, I tuned into one of my personal favorite podcasts, Turning to the Mystics, with James Finley, and it is brought to all of us by the Center for Action and Contemplation. Jim's teachings are just a deep breath of fresh air for my soul, and he dives into so many of the mystics of the past. And this season he's teaching on Saint Therese of Lisieux. That would be Therese, and Lisieux is Lisieux. And little did I know how deeply personal her work and her writings would speak to me. You know, when the student's ready, the teacher appears, and Saint Therese definitely was teaching me all the way up to Charlottesville and all the way back. And I will be sharing some of the lessons that deeply resonated with me. And quite honestly, when I got home, I felt like I had been away at a retreat, not getting medical testing. So I was very grateful for this time in my car where I could just experience on a bright, sunny, beautiful spring day with a crisp tone of coolness in the air, where I could experience a deeply satisfying personal retreat. So Allison's book, Come Away and Rest, A Guide to Personal Spiritual Retreats, is just what it says. It's a guide. And we don't have to go away. Like today, I was just in my car and I made use of that time. And boy, did it surprise me and fill my cup. So welcome, Allison, to the show. Oh, heart lifters, are you ready to learn how to have a personal spiritual retreat? We've not had this on the show in all these many years, but today we have the beautiful spirit, Allison Pryor, who I've just met and feel like kindred spirit. Allison, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you, Janelle, for having me. I'm excited.
I'm so excited because this book is timely, especially as we're recording with the world on fire, literally. And so I have been feeling ever since COVID in my own personal walk with Jesus that I've just been too busy, spinning my wheels in all the wrong ways. And so 2020 arrested that, I thought. And I'd say I gave it a good 3 years of really retreating and spending more time in the practical, beautiful practices, contemplative practices of stillness, silence, and solitude. But we're just creatures of habit and we get right back into busyness. And I know you know that. You have 5 children and a husband and a life and all of the things. And for many years, you were and still are in your training a marriage and family therapist. But during that time, you made a very big decision. Allison, 2 questions. Why did you make that transformational transition? And second, what, I think it's the same answer perhaps, drew you to becoming a certified spiritual director and become someone who wanted to experience personal retreats?
Yeah. Well, my shift from working as a therapist into the spiritual formation realm was a long and slow, winding road, as many of our roads are. In hindsight, they seem much more linear, but at the time, it was in the weeds. It's interesting you brought up COVID because I remember wearing a mask and sitting at the Board of Behavioral Sciences. I'm in a cubicle taking my legal and ethical exam.
Oh, that gives me anxiety.
Yeah, right. I know. And I was weeping because the Lord had been prompting me to go to Biola, to do this program. A friend of mine had been telling me for almost a decade.
Allison.
And I would say to him, Chris, I have a master's that I'm still paying off. Yes. Like I need to be making money, not spending money. And he was like, you have to go to this program. That man is now my boss because I work in the same program I was trained in.
I have got chills.
Yeah. And
wow.
The reason I was weeping was twofold. One, I had done so much work for so many years sitting with people's souls that I just felt so strongly that I needed an avenue in which to encounter Christ in the room. Yes. And I was not able to do that and there are ways to do it. But the way in which I was doing it in secular settings was just not.
Could be an ethical problem.
It would be not. Thank you.
It could be.
That's a longer answer. So in the state of California, especially, that's a much longer answer.
Yes. I was cautioned that way when I was seeking my licensure as well here in the
Yeah.
state of Virginia. Very wise people were like,
Yeah.
the way that
It's
you work,
right.
it's that. It's the way in which we
Yeah.
approach a
Hmm.
therapeutic alliance.
I know my dear brother-in-law is also a trained MFT. He did the exact same program at Fuller Seminary that I did, but 2 years after me.
Well,
And
that's a good
as
program.
the day before I went, yeah, it's a good program. The day before I went into this exam, he said, "You're just too Jesus-y for this space now. You just, I love you. You're my sister, but you're just too," because he works at Kaiser. He's full-time,
Oh,
therapist. And so he's like,
yes.
I love you so much, but you're just too Jesus-y. You've gone too
Opposed
far.
to
You've
clinician.
gone too far.
You've gone too far. You've crossed over.
Crossed over to the dark side.
Or the light
So,
side, however you want to
yeah,
say
the light,
it.
yeah, right. So,
Oh,
so my
that's
coming to my training at Talbot was very much an act of just, it was my last chip to lay down. It was very much an act of surrender. And I decided in that cubicle, I ended up
wow.
failing that exam, probably because I cried through that exam, but I ended up in that moment
Oh.
saying, okay, Lord, because he had just pushed and put, and he had, the gentle nudges for so
Hmm.
long that it was just, it was maybe the 10th answer in a row in which I had to answer, file a abuse report. And I remembered all of the abuse reports I filed in my life. And I thought, I don't want to
Oh.
do that. That's not what I, and it's good
Oh.
work. So I'm really cautious when I
No, no,
talk about
thank you.
this.
Can I just
It,
stop you for one little
yeah.
quick second?
Mhm.
Because I thank you for saying that. I've got chills everywhere in my body. It is an incredible work, but there is a tremendous toll. So thank you for opening up that cubicle and showing us your process. Because I learned so much from someone's story, but I learned far more from their process. And so it's hard to share that process, especially in a clinical world like therapy and all of that, because there are so many legal issues and HIPAA laws and all of those things. So, okay, you're in the cubicle, you're
In the
having a moment.
cubicle.
I
Hmm.
don't really want to do this work.
Right. And in the interim, so I graduated in 2005. And so this is
Wow.
2020, 2021, and it's definitely
Wow.
COVID. So that's a long stretch of time in which I am mostly an at-home mom. I've
Yeah.
had kid after kid after kid. And I had been working really in a freelance pro bono way in terms of doing a lot of parenting classes, doing a lot of speaking and writing and
Oh.
discipling people and mentoring, not in a clinician
Mm-hmm.
role all the
Mm-hmm.
time, but very much still engaged with what God was doing in the hearts and minds and lives of people. And so that sort of is my tie-in to the book, is that I had been doing, especially in the years leading up to COVID, a lot of speaking was leading me in the direction of Sabbath and rest. And so
Okay.
I had been, it was the Lord's own work in my life, but then
Mm-hmm.
also it was the thing that I wanted to talk about when I was asked to speak at like a MOPS or at a women's retreat or
Yes.
whatever. And I noticed right away, and I tell this one of these stories in the book, where a woman came up to me after and showed me her, which I respect a woman who has a paper planner, because I am a paper
Me too.
planner.
I still do.
I still do.
It's
That's how
so
I
old
like
school,
it.
but I love
I
it.
can, I look at the phone. I'm like, what is this saying to me? I can't categorize this in my mind. This makes no sense to me. I've had this phone for however many, I don't know.
I know.
She holds up her paper planner to me, and it is filled in the tiniest,
Mm.
prettiest, most precise script. Every inch of it, of every day, is packed full. And she showed it to me and
Oh,
said, where will I fit rest
oh
in this?
yes. Yes.
And it
Hmm.
was such a beautiful moment because it was so
Oh,
honest. Because a
mhm.
lot of people have resistance but are not honest about it.
Of course.
And it also exposed in me kind of the baseline of my own resistance to rest, which is rest is out there for the taking, but not
Hmm.
for me. Because I've got the 5 kids, I've got the fireman husband who works 72 hours at a
Oh,
time.
wow.
I have it's out there because it's a biblical command. It's one of the big
It
10.
sure is.
Jesus said it, come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, I will give you rest. That's a command and a promise of
It
scripture.
is. It's beautiful.
And and in my mind, yeah, it was, but just not for me, or just not this
I
season.
just can't seem to fit it in my Paper
I just
planner.
can't seem to, where is it going to fit?
I wish I had that picture. Yes.
I
I
know.
mean, I've had that planner, so I get it.
Yeah. And
Yeah. We all have probably.
I loved that moment. First of all, because it was so honest. And second of all, because there was this moment where my initial reaction was, do you know that, is this your handwriting? Like, do you know that you wrote all that? Are you aware that you planned that way? So it was like this zoom
Sure.
out of my own life
Mm-mm.
of the Lord saying to me, do you realize that you do
Little tap on the shoulder.
that that's your handwriting in that
Hmm.
planner?
That's such a
Um,
good visual.
yeah, it really
Wow.
was. It made it in the book because it was so helpful to
Yes.
me
Well, it's very helpful.
and so illuminating for how we are, especially as women, that we tend to
Hmm.
women especially find rest difficult to enter into. We are
Hmm.
very habituated to overwork. We're
Hmm.
very habituated by generations of we can't sit
Hmm.
down and rest. We
Hmm.
can't. And it really,
Culturally. Hmm.
it brings up so much for us in a much more layered way than men, I've noticed,
Very true.
when we try to enter rest. It
Hmm.
brings up all of the baggage of generational trauma, of you should be productive, of you should be working, of you're not allowed to sit, of even our capacity for pleasure. We're very habituated to pain. You know, we bleed and have babies,
Oh,
but we're not as comfortable with pleasure. We're not as comfortable with rest and
not at
with
all.
no. And so it really expands our what makes us uncomfortable. We're asked to hold something pleasurable like rest, like it's
That's a
meant to
key
be a
word.
delight.
Hmm.
Isaiah says, call the Sabbath a delight. It's meant to be delightful. And
Hmm.
that part's hard for us. And we don't really know that it
Yeah.
is, and we don't know why it is, but we resist it. And so we say, look at this. I've got
Yeah.
too much. I can't fit it in.
Hmm.
And we want to make it about time. That's my opening
Yeah.
chapter talks about we want to make it that Abraham Heschel quote of space
Please.
versus time.
Okay,
And
I'm
we
just
want
going
to
to read
say,
it. We're going to just take
yeah,
a
go for
pause.
it.
I see in hindsight that I was wrestling with the ramifications of space versus time. So, my question is okay, talk to me more about this wrestling with the ramifications of space versus time. Rabbi Abraham Heschel, is that how I say it? Heschel
Hmm. Hmm.
writes, the result of our thinginess, so that's my second question, is our blindness to all reality that fails to identify itself as a thing, as a matter of fact. This is obvious in our understanding of time, which, being thingless and insubstantial, appears to us as if it had no reality. Indeed, we know what to do with space, but do not know what to do about time except making it subservient to space.
Hmm.
This is so good. Most of us seem to labor for the sake of things of space. It's very heady.
Hmm.
As a result, we suffer from a deeply rooted dread of time and stand aghast when compelled to look into its face.
I mean,
Yeah. Thinginess.
thinginess.
What a, what a
Heady.
word.
It is heady. Here's my picture for what that has looked like for me at the time.
Okay, good.
When I came upon that quote in maybe, I don't know, 2010. Maybe I've got 4.5 kids. I'm not sure. And
Four
I
and a half
am so,
kids.
maybe one's bacon. I don't know. They came real fast. And I'm exhausted.
Oh,
And
man.
I am beginning to clue in to the command and the promise of rest in scripture. And I'm beginning to get curious about if God promises it, why am I not receiving it? Where's the gap between his promise and, because if every promise is yes and amen in scripture, then why is that not a reality in my life?
It's
So
so good.
I'm beginning to, the wheels are turning.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious about, Lord, what would that mean with 4, maybe 5 kids, a husband who's gone for big stretches? And up until then, my rest had really been centered around thinginess. So my husband would come home from a shift. I would hand him a few babies. I would get in the car and I would drive away. And I wouldn't know, and not in, not in a I'm going to Mexico kind of way, but in a like I have to have a second.
I need a second.
And which is very common because I know it because I'd run into other moms
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
MOPS and from the library and from Playtime in Target as I
Anywhere.
have my iced coffee and as I'm roaming the aisles. I'm captured by thinginess. I'm captured. This throw pillow would give me rest. This candle looks restful. I'm going to put that in my cart. And I'm very anchored in thinginess. And I've got my latte and I've got my consumable items. Okay.
Boy,
And
this is
right.
applicable.
And
Hmm.
I know that it's not just me. So I'm not
It is
ashamed because
so not just you.
I'm
There's no
running into the
shaming
other
here.
moms at Target. So I
We are
know.
naming. Yes.
And I got curious about my lack of holy space
I
and
get it.
that there was nowhere I could go that did not require consumerism on my part, whether it's Starbucks with the
Yes.
latte, scrolling my phone, consuming, in Target consuming. And even on the Sabbath, when I would sort of block, I began to take it seriously. Like if
Hmm.
God has rest for me, I'm gonna be serious. I'm gonna cook double on Saturday. I'm gonna be serious about Sabbath, right? I'm not gonna do
Mhm.
laundry.
Yeah.
Like I'm here for whatever God has.
And this is way
And
before John Mark Comer's
yeah,
book
this is
hit the, yeah,
yeah. It was
exactly.
the promptings,
God
which I
was
think
wooing
the
you
Holy
early on.
Spirit,
Hmm.
he was doing it to a lot of us, I think.
Yes.
I
Oh,
think it
for
was a
sure.
corporate thing.
Yes.
Yeah, we're becoming curious of, I don't
Hmm.
know that I need to grind for the kingdom. I don't know that God is more happy with me when I just bore into the center of the earth
No.
for important kingdom activities. Maybe he also delights me when I, rest. So
Hmm.
I'm curious about that. And I'm noticing on the Sabbath, we'd come home from church, my kids would go in the yard and play. I would get the baby down for a nap, and I would again be sucked in by the thinginess. And I'm
Yeah.
scrolling, or I'm on Netflix, or I'm putting, cute little shorts in my Amazon cart. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm absorbed in the thinginess. And
I
so
love this word.
yeah, I know. So yeah, I love Abraham Heschel. So
Me
when
too.
I was speaking with this friend, a friend at church, and he suggested this local monastery where these cute little nuns who just became so precious to me and are
So
very.
you open up with them, and I can just
I
see it. I'm
do.
raised Catholic, so I love me some nuns. Sister Mary,
Oh,
Sister Margaret. I mean, can't
yes.
be any more a nun. Sister
And I
Mary, Sister
never
Margaret.
and I never overtly said I wasn't Catholic. I just led that I had 5 kids, and they just
Brought you
let me
lemon
right.
bars.
Yeah, they did. And then maybe a few years in, I was like, I'm a Protestant, and they were like, "That's okay, that's okay. We had a Buddhist here last week. It's okay."
That's
And
so
I was like,
great.
"Thank you, Sister Margaret."
I just love. We have a monastery about 40 minutes from here, and I did have a retreat there, and I've never
Mm.
gone to stay though. So you're inspiring
Mm.
me. Yes.
So as soon as Sister Margaret led me to my little room and I sat down on the bed, and you'll learn this when you go, most, if not all, monasteries are a bed, a desk, a lamp, maybe a sink, the
The
end.
cross, crucifix on
A
the wall.
cross above above the bed. And I sat there and I looked at the window and I looked at my watch and I had no idea what
No.
to do with myself. And I was face to face with God and I was aghast. So
Yeah.
that quote is so meaningful to me because that's exactly what it felt like when
Hmm.
I was stripped of all that I used to hold all of my accomplishments, all of my tasks, all of the things that I do to make meaning out of my life. When I rest, I'm letting those go. And
Hmm.
I am stripped of all the trinkets and all the distractions. And I am face to face with the living God.
Yeah.
And that is the terror
It
and the
is terror.
beauty of
Hmm.
retreat. And that's why we avoid it, not because of all these
Hmm.
things that
Mm-mm.
we show each other, like, oh, I'm too busy, I'm too busy.
I'm so
It's
busy.
not those things.
Hmm.
It's the terror of being face to face with the living God.
Yes. Yeah. And I will add to that. Yes. From my own journey, it was I didn't know it as terror at the time. It was, though.
Hmm.
I had a wise, wise doctor that said, I want you to go home. I want you to quit all of your leadership
Mm.
duties. I want you to do nothing for 6 months, but take care of your little toddler. I had one at the time. I had twins 2 years
Mm.
later,
Mm.
4 years later. And I want you to do what you've never been allowed to do. I
Mm.
want you to journal. I just want you to do whatever you've never been allowed to do. And I remember telling
Oh.
the pastor at that time, I have to step down from being the children's pastor, the children's minister. And it was ugly and awful
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
terrifying, all of the
Mm-hmm.
things,
Mm-hmm.
because he wanted me to hear my thoughts.
Wow. What a doctor.
I don't know if he was real. Like he never
Was he an
examined me.
angel?
I
Was
think
he?
so.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
might have
I
been.
don't know.
I've never had a medical professional
Ever. I went in
ever.
thinking I was dying of cancer. I mean, because I had lost so much weight. I mean,
Oh,
I was not doing well. I'd miscarried. It
oh,
was just,
oh.
I don't even know how I got to him,
Mm.
but he was, in my mind, it was a Black Tuesday because I just remember driving away going, oh man, what do what? I didn't have your book. Like,
What do I do?
what do I do now?
Hmm. Yeah,
Just,
and
just, yeah, that's it.
that's really the crux of the book. What do I do now? What do
Hmm.
I actually do in
Hmm.
rest? Because it is that face-to-face terror, and it is that moment of, okay, someone's telling me to rest, or even I have this 6 hours or this day or this weekend to rest. What do I do now?
Hmm.
And that was my, when you asked why did I write the book, that's why I wrote it. Because
Hmm.
I personally felt the face-to-face terror and
Mm.
the unsupported feeling. And
When
so I
you went away
wanted,
to that, I just having a little brain lapse here, still in a recovery phase,
yeah.
but did you just go for the day or did you
That
spend the night that time?
No, that time, no, that was
So that
just
was like
a
your
day.
6 hour retreat
That was
thing.
my 6 hour. And
Okay.
I
Okay.
I didn't know what I was doing at the time, that I was actually
Right.
working up to a 40. I had no idea what was happening.
Well,
I just
you're
knew
living into the work of this book. I mean, you're
I was, yes,
experientially
yes.
living into your
Hmm.
future,
Yes.
what the future had for you. You were being obedient and following your promptings, so
I
good for
just
that.
knew that Target wasn't doing it and Starbucks wasn't
Starbucks.
doing it. I just knew that those things were not doing it. They were
Yes.
not helping me enter sacred time with God. And so that's all I was trying. I didn't know if how long it would be. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. So I open that way because I think a lot of people are there. And I want to
Hmm.
capture people where they are, of like, you know that your soul is hungering and thirsting, but you just don't know what to give it.
Exactly. Okay,
Yeah.
we're not taught in
No.
is it fair to say, I don't know, 80-90% of churches, American Western Church, I mean, the contemplative practices are having a revival,
Yeah.
but most churches are very active and loud and
Yeah.
performance based. And so we don't know how.
Yeah. We don't know
And
how.
we just don't have the tools, although there are tools. I'm so thankful for your work here, Allison, because it is exactly what it says it is. It's a
Mm,
guide.
mm.
So you learned the hard way for us to not have to learn the hard way.
It's true.
Because it will still be unnerving
Hmm.
to go somewhere that supports a spiritual retreat. It'll
Yeah,
still be unnerving to go in that room and sit
for
on a
sure.
bed, even with this
Hmm.
book in hand.
Hmm.
But you will at least have, a hand up in the process because you will have this book.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is I have a practice of spiritual direction right now. So I have many
Yes.
directees, and most of them bought the book, and have one of them has done a retreat now with the book already. She got an early copy. And
Oh,
she said it's like having your voice with me, because she knows my voice.
because
We've
she
worked
knows your
together
voice.
for
Yes.
years. And she
Yes.
said it's like you're with me on this retreat. And I said, you know what's so funny is when I had
Oh,
to pitch the book, you have to do an elevator pitch.
yes.
My one sentence elevator pitch is, it's like taking your own spiritual director
Yeah.
with you on a retreat.
Yeah,
It's
for
not a
sure.
big, like what you're saying, it's not entertainment based, it's not even
No,
information based,
no.
although I hope to give information. It's
Mm,
not cerebral in that sense. It's getting somewhere deeper.
I agree.
And you're having someone come with you who will hold up that something deeper for you.
You're giving us this guide to help us set aside sacred time. You talk a lot about sacred time.
Mhm.
And here in this community, we talk a lot about Chronos time and Kairos time.
Mhm.
So I want your understanding of what sacred
Mhm.
time is to you and what you have gleaned from that. From
Hmm. I mean, I think all time is sacred time. I don't think
Yeah,
that I don't think there's really any division. I think
Mm-hmm.
we live in the divisions. And so for me, it feels
Yep.
like I get up before my kids, I get my coffee, I light my candle, I open the scriptures, and
Oh,
I am open to the Lord and I'm ready for whatever
really?
He has. Yeah.
Really?
And
Tell
this
me
is
more.
why.
Okay, someone does not know how to do that. I can tell you that someone's going to go, there's no way. I have two kids.
Mm,
I can't get up before my kids.
mm,
Okay, my
mm.
firstborn's children get up at 4:30,
Yeah.
4:45 still,
Yeah.
4 and 2.
Mhm.
So no
Yeah.
matter what, that is your priority.
That's my priority.
It's your practice.
When I've been up all night nursing a baby, am I going to be legalistic about it? No, I'm not, because
Thank
that's
you.
not what it's
Okay.
about. It's not
Okay.
about checking the box every day.
Right.
There are plenty of times where I can remember slugging through from 4 a.m. to maybe 10 a.m.,
Hmm.
which is a full day's work.
For sure. It's part one of the job, or it's job
Yeah.
one.
And then the babies go down for a nap, and I'm like, I got a nap. And then I fall into a deep sleep, and I happen to wake up 10 minutes before they wake up. And that's that time. For me,
Oh.
it's this posture of, and I write about this in the book.
Hmm.
I quote Rocco E. Errico, who says he wrote a whole book about the Aramaic word for prayer when they said, Jesus, teach us how to pray.
Oh,
The word
yeah.
pray is to set a trap. And he's speaking to a hunter-gatherer society. And so he's saying,
Mm.
when you pray, you're like a bear trap in the wild, and you
Ooh.
are open, and you are still, and you are receptive, and you're patient,
Hmm.
and you can't cajole, you can't manipulate, you can't produce. What you can do is grab onto God when He passes by. You can't make it happen, but you can open. And so for
Yeah.
me,
Beautiful.
that's the sacred time, is just opening. But then here's what happens.
Hmm.
I have that 10 minutes, which is beautiful. But then I'm like, okay, got to get the kids to school, got to
Hmm.
pay that bill, got to, and my heart, which was open,
Hmm.
becomes closed
Hmm.
because I'm now thinking about all that I must do. And so for me, and this may be different for every person in the world, but for me, the very
Hmm.
helpful visual is to reopen. So for me, when we talk about sacred time,
Hmm.
all time is sacred, everything belongs
Hmm.
to God. But I forget, I am very much Romans 12, 1 through 2. I present myself on the altar, but then I am a living sacrifice. So then I just sort of wander off because I'm
Hmm.
alive. I'm not dead, laying there motionless. I'm a living
Correct.
sacrifice. I'm like, well, I got bills to pay and I got kids to do, and
Got a house to clean. Got to go. Got to do. Got to
gotta
teach
move,
mops. Got to do.
gotta do stuff. And the retreating was what helped me to keep to open more frequently.
I love that.
I don't know that I've mastered staying open all the time. I don't know that that's an
Oh,
honest thing to say, but I do know that I've become more flexible, and I've become more readily aware that my heart has closed and I've wandered.
oh, that's
And so
that'll preach. That's
here I
mm.
am. Here I am again, Lord. Oh, it's noon.
Oh,
Here I am again, Lord. Oh, I
yes.
wander. Oh, here I am again, Lord.
Yes. That is so profound that we must take just a pause for a breath, because the key word is reception, I think, and receptive,
Mm-hmm.
to have a posture of receptivity. I
Yeah.
just talked to another beautiful Ivy Press author who brought that to the table. And here it is again. It's a theme, isn't it? The
Mm-hmm.
spirit has a theme going on,
Yeah.
that we are to just be. I love the image of that trap as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just being open and receptive. And okay, I'm in the carpool line. Okay, I'm going to open up again.
Yes.
I love your hands opening. I
Yeah.
think that is a beautiful spiritual rhythm and practice to do. It's a very simple one to do. I can do it in the grocery store. No one will know. The other one I do a lot is just putting my hand on my heart. Wherever you are, I'm gonna open. I'm gonna open my heart. And I love that you said the more practice,
Mm,
right? Because
the
it
more
is a
flexible.
practice, the more
Yeah.
flexible you become. And flexibility, gold is the most flexible metal. So it's a lot being said there for
Yeah.
us to be
Yeah.
flexible. And all that will create a pattern and a habitual practice and a pathway in our brain. So,
Yeah. And I love that you're honing in on receptivity, because that, to me, to circle back to our first question of my movement from being a
yeah.
therapist into a spiritual director, is I'm tracking what God has done in my own soul, which is moving me from, I have set my alarm, I have opened the scriptures, I have come to prayer, I am initiating time with God.
Mm-hmm.
He has moved me from that mindset to, I am actually receiving, I am saying
Mm-hmm.
yes to your call to
Mm-hmm.
come to you.
Yeah.
And I am, in fact, entering, Hebrews tells us that Jesus sits at the right hand of the Father, ever interceding for us. I am actually entering into a conversation I didn't start, I
Mm-mm.
don't sustain, I didn't begin, and I won't end it. I am entering into what you're doing. So I am receiving and cooperating. I'm not initiating.
Yeah. It's
And so
huge.
for me, that was a huge movement for my own soul, because in the therapeutic space, I never learned how to do that. I thought I was the initiator of
Oh, it's
change. I was
tough.
helping my clients heal. I
Yes.
was I found myself in that initiator role. And so as a
It's
spiritual
good.
director, I am only receptive. I am like, Lord, you and this person have a whole thing happening outside of me. I don't know what's going on. I am willing to receive whatever you have for them. I want to watch it happen. I am not a
Mhm.
character in their story. I am just pointing out what you're doing in their life.
Yeah.
And so I even come to every spiritual direction session open to the fact that God has been meeting with this person, doing
Yes.
the work before I ever showed up on the scene. And so that
Absolutely.
posture of receptivity has really pervaded my
Mm.
way of thinking across the board. That I am actually responding always. I am not
Mhm.
setting my alarm. I'm not entering, I'm not the
No.
initiator of action. I am only responding to God's action. And even when I come away on retreat and rest, I
Mhm.
open each retreat with an arrival guide that says, I am
Oh, it's
responding to
so
your
good.
call to
Yeah.
come away. I
Yeah.
am not, I maybe packed some snacks for the drive and like called a monk and booked a room. That's it. That's one that
Just want
you're
the
the
lemon
other,
bars.
just the lemon bars. The other 99% is you. I did this 1%. That's all I got.
I think that's what I love about your work here is you're giving a guide and you're saying, now go do your work.
Yep.
You go enter God's presence. It's putting a sense, tell me if I'm wrong, please. I'm getting really fired up because it's a sense of ownership. It's like
Yeah.
own your healing.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You know, this journey through my heart event, these last
Mhm.
7, 8 months has just been like, how do I re-enter helping others? Well,
Mhm.
your book is definitely going to be front and center to like, okay, this is
Mhm.
something you, especially to faith-based people, you know, it's like we need a relationship and we need to know God. And when we know God, we then can understand ourselves, or is it vice versa? Whatever Calvin said,
Mm.
know thyself,
Mm.
know God,
Yeah.
know thyself.
Double knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes,
Mhm.
it's inextricable.
Mm.
So setting apart time, you say sacred time, we come face to face with who we think God to be.
Yeah.
That is the crux of what I think
Mhm.
is your work for all
Mm.
of us, because I've just been through so many beautiful and conversations with spiritual directors on the show. You know, it was Trevor Hudson who brought to me like if whatever our image of God is, I mean that's everything.
It is. Yeah, it is. And that's the story I tell when I walk people through my first 6 hour retreat, and I'm sitting on the bed unsure what to do, face to face with living God. Then I fall asleep for many hours. Then I get up
Lovely. Oh,
and I
that's
walk through the garden, and I on the bench outside next to the lemon tree where they made lemon bars,
oh,
I tell a story about a manager I had when I waited tables, who would force us into, he was real fastidious about making us take our break right at the minute of when
wow.
California law dictated that 15-minute break.
Oh,
And I would be mid table. I'd have, 5 eggs Benedict, and I'd be balancing. He'd be like, go on your break. And I'm like, I'm going to lose my tip, man. Like, I can't.
oh.
And he would force us to, I mean, I'd deliver the food and then be forced to a break. And he would stand there in the doorway as we all sat on these hard plastic chairs, just sort of like staring at each other for 15
Oh,
minutes,
no.
unrelaxing. And he would look at his watch as we sat there for
I'm
15
so
minutes.
sorry. Oh my gosh.
And I realized,
Unrelaxing.
unrelaxing, I realized that that was who I thought God was, who we think God to be.
Oh,
I thought that God allowed me rest measly, um, and only to make me more productive for any important kingdom activities he
that's
would have
it.
for me to do.
Same here.
He wasn't delighting in me when I rested.
Mm-mm.
He was allowing it, but like, come on, are we
Mm.
done? Are you
Yeah, are
done?
we done yet?
Are we done yet?
Hmm.
And I
And no
thought,
pleasure or delight at all in that.
no,
None. Zip.
absolutely not. And I thought, oh no, that's who I think God, that is in my depths. It's so knowledge of self, knowledge of God in my depths. That's who I think God is. And
Yeah.
that's not true.
It's so, please tell us who he is. Who have you found him to be? Who have you found him to be?
Oh
How did
man.
that
Yeah.
heal in
Mhm.
your mind? How did you
Oh gosh.
consolidate that with
Mm.
a beautiful new picture of who God is? I'm going
Mm.
to say this really quick before I forget. We're going to get to the last part. You have three parts. Part one, preparing. Part two is all the retreats. And then part three is returning. And I want to close with thoughts about returning from and re-entry because I think I have thoughts. But on page 223, it's so adorable. You're like, I guess God just initially had snacks and naps for me because God had his own agenda on that retreat.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. Like that's part of the process when we first go away like that. You're just going to probably sleep. You're a mother
Yeah.
of five at this time. You had a
Yeah.
baby and you're suffering panic attacks and holy
Yeah.
moly moly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I had it in mind. I was still really playing around with my efforts versus God's efforts at that time.
Yeah.
And I had entered that retreat wanting, and I didn't know this at the time until I got home, but I wanted to either be Moses and receive holy insight, or I wanted to be Jacob. And I wanted to, like, I know
Wrestle.
there's some hidden sin. I'm ready to duke it out. I'm ready to, I'm ready to fight through my battles. And God was
That's so
silent.
funny. I've never
And
heard
I
anyone
was
say it like that. That's so
well,
good.
that's what I was ready for. And so I had my journal, I had my, I had all this stuff. And what I was not prepared for was silence. And I've
Yes.
learned
Whew.
since from walking with people that they are often met with silence.
Mm.
And silence at first is horrifying, but secondarily is really illuminating because that was what came up in the silence was I'm ready to be Moses. I got a pen. I'm ready to take notes. Like give me holy insight. I've blocked off these 2 days. You know how hard it was to get babysitting for these two
This is
days? I
fantastic.
I did it. And give me a word. Give me a
Exactly.
word. Or like let's wrestle it out. I want a
Yeah.
broken hip to prove that I was here and I
Oh,
am more spiritually mature from
yeah.
this
I got
and
something to show for this.
I have advanced.
Yes.
And that's what my soul wanted. My soul wanted to be a better Christian for the sake of being a better Christian, or I wanted
Mhm.
growth for the sake of growth, or I wanted a word. I wanted these external things to prove
Yeah.
something to myself.
We
And what
had no
God gave
idea
me,
what you really wanted. He gave you
yeah,
silence,
he gave me silence.
snacks and
And so,
naps.
but yeah, and so in reflecting on that retreat, I had made ahead all this really beautiful food, and I had beautiful meals, and the weather was beautiful.
Oh,
It was Narnia. It was snowing.
oh,
And I reflected on that retreat. I said, I wanted to be Moses and receive holy insight, or I wanted to be Jacob and leave with a limp to prove it. But what God wanted me to be was Elijah. And he wanted just to feed
oh.
me and to have me nap. And I wasn't ready for
No,
holy insight. I wasn't ready for wrestling. I was ready for snacks and napping. That's all I was ready for. That
talk
was it.
more. You just brought up a major question on that page, but we have had so much fun. I'm not even looking at my pages, but you weren't ready.
I wasn't ready. I was exhausted. As you said, I had
Yes.
5 kids.
Yes.
I was suffering from anxiety and
Hmm.
depression. I was not, I was, God bless my heart that I wanted to wrestle it out. And God's
Yeah.
like, I don't want to wrestle you. I want to love you.
Says a lot about you, though, the high function. It says a lot about a lot of us.
Yes, it
We're
says a lot about a
just
lot of us. Yeah.
so high functioning. Not that that's not a good thing. I'm learning.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's
It's a
not.
defense, coping, all that
Mm,
stuff. So I don't want to pass by the fact that perhaps let's just bring this into the counseling realm.
mm,
your nervous system at that time needed rest. It needed real
Totally.
sleep. It needed like the
Mhm.
rest where you're taking naps. Like,
Yeah.
yes.
I needed here's what I needed, which I didn't
Okay.
know. I needed to learn in my body
Mm,
that God delighted in me when I rested.
good.
I was beginning to get it cerebrally. I was beginning
Hmm.
to read the Old Testament and all the times he talks about rest.
Mm,
I was beginning to read Jesus. I was beginning to get it cerebrally.
okay.
But we don't learn rest in our minds.
We don't.
We learn it in our bodies.
Thank you.
And I want to learn everything in my mind. I want to know every fact. I mean, I've got two master's degrees from two different seminaries.
You
I
do
want
love
to
to
know
learn.
them. I
Hmm.
love it.
Me
And I
too.
really get tricked into thinking that I can think my way into holy living. And if I
Yeah.
just know enough facts and if I just know enough theology, then I'll be safe and then I'll be okay. And I had to learn in an experiential way that when I laid on the couch and ate snacks and read good books and watched the snowfall and watched the candle flicker and entered into a nap and woke up from a nap and God was still here
Mm,
and God was still with me and God still delighted in
mm,
being present to me when I'm completely unproductive. I have no cash
yeah.
value. I am not
Mhm.
wrestling. I am not receiving holy insight. I am doing nothing. And to receive delight in my body and name it as delight, the snow falling is delightful. This candle flickering smells so good. The soup is amazing. I don't know what I did with this rest. Man, it's good soup. I was expanding, as we talked about at the beginning, my capacity for pleasure and for delight.
Yes.
And I
Beautiful.
had to live it. I couldn't think my way into rest. I couldn't
No.
think my way into retreating. I had to actually
Embody it.
be I had to rest and know that God delighted in me and not just one time. I had to do that
Right.
over and over and over
Yeah.
because we don't just eat once and we're like, that was a good meal. I don't think I ever need to eat again. We have to rest in a habitual way for
Hmm.
people like us, often for years
Years.
before we get it. We can
Yeah.
get it in our mind much earlier, but our
Hmm.
bodies need to get it. And so that's why
Hmm.
I wrote a whole section on embodiment because
Good.
of what we're talking about,
Good.
that we cannot think our way into rest. We must
Okay.
actually rest in our physical bodies
Yes.
to receive something different from the Holy Spirit and to
Yeah.
and to rewire those neural pathways into I can sit and rest and God loves me. I'm okay. This is okay. This is okay.
Yeah.
Dallas Willard was so famously said,
Hmm.
spiritual formation is the slowest motion on earth. It just takes time. And we are impatient. God is not. We are, you
And the
know?
system is impatient, in which we worship. Lots of them are impatient in that practice.
Oh, for
Dallas
sure.
Willard also said, somebody asked him what he thought Jesus was like, and he
Mm-hmm.
went, relaxed. We're going to close with your words that say re-entry must be gentle. Allison, thank you for writing that sentence
Mm-hmm.
because it's even bigger. It's just be gentle with this process. Be gentle. It's slow and steady that wins the race here. Don't quit the process. Keep moving forward even as slow and steady as it is. Any
Mm-hmm.
final words to us?
Yeah, I like closing there to be gentle
Okay.
with yourself. I
Yeah,
think that
I
we
like
can
it too.
even take the spiritual practices or the spiritual disciplines and we can think that they will change us. And we can just grind away at the spiritual practices just the way we grind at serving at church or whatever else we do. We can get really confused about
Yeah.
how transformation works, and that if we just apply them better or try harder, that will make it change us. And that's just not how any of this works. It works by this, it works by opening.
Does.
And yeah, so I like the invitation to be gentle. I work with a lot of pastors, and I've noticed
Oh,
that ministry leaders in general are the most ruthless with themselves,
so ruthless. We really
and
are.
they often rely on donations or some sort of
Yes.
giving and that creates
Mm-hmm.
in them a paradigm in which they have to work even harder
Perform.
to
Mm-hmm.
earn
Yeah.
the.
The donations.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I like ending there. I like ending because that is every inch of it in my experience, and I hope this comes through in the book, every inch of it has been God's gentleness with me, God's kindness, God wooing me toward himself in love instead of pushing me from behind. There's a great quote from Marjorie Thompson in her book Soul Feast where she says, it's important that scripture likens us to sheep and not cattle, because sheep are invited, they're beckoned forward, whereas cattle are driven from behind. And that is the movement I tried to capture in the book, is it was the Lord leading me forward gently, not pushing me from behind.
It's beautiful. I hope you hear that, Heartlifters. Allison, I love you a lot.
I love you too, Janelle.
This is fantastic. I am so grateful. So we're going to be gentle. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
You are so welcome. Thanks for listening, Heartlifter. I want to close with a few words from page 102 and maybe 103 in Allison's book, Come Away and Rest. She opens the afternoon retreat session with John 15, verses 5 through 7. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. If anyone does not abide in me, he is thrown away like a branch and withers, and the branches are gathered, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. She writes an opening prayer. God, as I continue to look at the state of my soul, I am aware that I do not want to do this alone. I can do nothing apart from you. I want to do this and all of life with you. Be merciful to me in this time. Give me eyes to see, ears to hear, and a heart to love you more. She offers an exercise to take 20 to 30 minutes to do a written inventory of 3 aspects of your life: your money, your time, and your attention. And under the attention aspect of that exercise, she asks a few questions. What have you given your attention to? Where does your mind wander in prayer? How often do you feel that you engage in self-talk, self-criticism, self-loathing, self-praise, as opposed to God talk, prayer? In silence and solitude, are you able to attend to the person of God, or do you feel overwhelmed by your own sense of self, what you want, think, need, or feel? Do you consider, she writes, the plans he has for you? See Jeremiah 29, verse 11. Or is your attention drawn to your own plans? I love this. I offer it to you today. Be sure to meet me over at Heartlift Wellness on Substack, our gathering place online, and on Instagram at JanelleReardon.com. For more resources or to leave a rate and review of the podcast, go to JanelleReardon.com/podcast. As always, I'll see you next time.